Yo fam, welcome back. I'm Antoine and this is My Dharma Path, where sutras meet soul and teachings turn into testimony. Today we're vibing with chapter 17 of the Lotus Sutra, Distinction of Benefits. This one's all about the ripple effect. You hear the Dharma and feel joy. That's a spiritual revelation. You reach it, you're building temples in every breath. You recite it, you're recrowned with the Buddha's presence. So let's get into it. No robes, no gatekeeping, just your voice, your heart, and your sacred curiosity. I am reading from the Burton Watson translation of the Lotus Sutra. There's a link on the channel. Chapter 17 looks like this. That's where I'll be reading from. Before I start, I'm going to give you an overview and some information that might come up that you never heard before. This chapter is a Dharma remix of spiritual cause and effect. The Buddha's message, every joyful response to the Lotus Sutra is a cosmic offering. Here's the flow. Non-regression. Those who hear and rejoice enter a stage where they won't fall back spiritually. Memory drani's. Practitioners receive deep spiritual retention and clarity. Joy is a gateway. Even spontaneous joy upon hearing the sutra plants seeds for future Buddhahood. No need for temples. Embracing the Lotus Sutra is equal to building infinite pagodas and making offerings to countless Buddhas. Crown of the head. Those who carry the sutra are literally carrying the Buddha on their crown. Divine authority in motion. Chapter 17. I'm going to start reading. At that time, when the great assembly heard the Buddha describe how his lifespan lasted such a very long number of kalpas, immeasurable, boundless asmakas of living beings gained a great many rich benefits. At that time, the world-honored one said to the Bodhisattva and Mahasattva Maitreya, Ajita, when I describe how the lifespan of the thus come one lasts for such an exceedingly long time, living beings, numerous as the sands of 10,000 millions Nayutas of Ganges, attain the truth of birthlessness, and Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas, 1,000 times more in number, gain the Dhrani teaching that allows them to retain all that they hear, and Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas, numerous as the dust particles of an entire world, gain the eloquence that allows them to speak pleasingly and without hindrance. Can you explain who Maitreya is and his significance in the 17th chapter of the Lotus Sutra?
Maitreya is considered a future Buddha in Buddhist tradition, prophesied to appear on earth, achieve enlightenment, and teach the Dharma. In the 17th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, Maitreya plays a key role in questioning and discussing the profound teachings presented, exploring the concepts of faith, realization, and the rewards of upholding the sutra. His dialogue with Shakyamuni Buddha reveals deep layers of meaning, encouraging practitioners to comprehend and embody the teachings in their lives. It's a rich exploration of Buddhist philosophy and practice.
Can you explain what a Bodhisattva and a Mahasattva is and how are they different?
In Buddhism, a Bodhisattva is an enlightened being who vows to attain Buddhahood, but chooses to remain in the cycle of birth and death to help all sentient beings achieve enlightenment. A Mahasattva is a great Bodhisattva, highlighting their advanced spiritual development. The key difference is mainly in the level of spiritual maturity and commitment to the altruistic path of saving others.
And can you explain what Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is and how it's different from Nirvana?
Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is a Sanskrit term meaning supreme perfect enlightenment. It's the ultimate state of awakening where one fully comprehends the true nature of reality. Nirvana, on the other hand, is the liberation from the cycle of birth and death, characterized by the cessation of suffering. While both terms describe profound spiritual achievements, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is often seen as the pinnacle of enlightenment, encompassing the realization that leads to nirvana.
Thank you. I'm going to go on reading. Can you stand by?
Of course, I'm here whenever you're ready. Enjoy your reading.
And bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, numerous as the dust particles of an entire world, gain dhranis that allow them to retain hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions, immeasurable repetitions of the teachings. And bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 1,000,000,000-fold world, were able to turn the unregressing wheel of the law. And bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 2,000 middle-sized lands, were able to turn the pure wheel of the law. And bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 small lands, gained assurance that they would attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi after 8 rebirths. And bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, as numerous as the dust particles of the 4 continent worlds, gained assurance that they would attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi after 4 rebirths. And bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 3 4-continent worlds, gained assurance that they would attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi after 3 rebirths. And bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 2 4-continent worlds, gained assurance that they would attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi after 2 rebirths. And bodhisattvas and mahasattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 1 4-continent world, gained assurance that they would attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi after 1 rebirth. And living beings, numerous as the dust particles of 8 worlds, were all moved to set their minds upon Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Now, nobody knows why it took so many births for them to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Can you explain that, please?
The Lotus Sutra highlights varying levels of spiritual maturity and the time it takes to reach enlightenment. The number of rebirths reflects the depth of one's practice, understanding, and dedication to the path. It's a poetic way of illustrating that enlightenment is a journey, and each being's path is unique. The number of births symbolizes the gradual accumulation of wisdom, merit, and compassion needed to attain the ultimate enlightenment.
I'm going to go on reading. Please stand by.
I'll be right here. Enjoy your reading.
When the Buddha announced that these bodhisattvas and mahasattvas had gained the great benefits of the law from the midst of the air, Mandharva flowers and great Mandharva flowers rained down, scattering over the immeasurable hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions of Buddhas who were seated on lion seats under jewel trees, and also scattering over Shakyamuni Buddha and over many treasures. Thus come one who long ago entered extinction, both of whom were seated on lion seats in the Tower of 7 Treasures. They also scattered all over the great bodhisattvas and the 4 kinds of believers. In addition, finely powdered sandalwood and aloes rained down, and in the midst of the air heavenly drums sounded of their own accord wonderful notes, deep and far-reaching, and 1,000 varieties of heavenly robes rained down, draped with various necklaces, pearl necklaces, mani, jewel necklaces, necklaces of wish-granting jewels, spreading everywhere in 9 directions. and jewel-encrusted
And in jewel-encrusted pavilions there were placed on display hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions of kinds of heavenly robes, scattering all over as offerings.
Can you stand by, please? Sorry about
Absolutely.
that. I'm still reading. In jewel-encrusted centers, priceless incense burn, the fragrance of its own accord, permeating everywhere as an offering to the great assembly. Above each, no. This is the spam call. I'll come back. And jewel-encrusted censers, priceless incense burned, the fragrance of its own accord, permeating everywhere as an offering to the great assembly. Above each one of the Buddhas there appeared bodhisattvas holding banners and canopies, and rows reaching up to the Brahma heaven. These bodhisattvas employed their wonderful voices in singing immeasurable hymns of praise to the Buddhas. At that time, the bodhisattva Maitreya rose from his seat, bared his right shoulder, and pressing his palms together and facing the Buddha spoke in verse form, saying, "The Buddha preaches a rarely encountered law, one never heard from times past. The world-honored one possesses great powers, and his lifespan cannot be measured. The countless sons of the Buddha, hearing the world-honored one make distinctions and describe the benefits of the law they will gain, find their whole bodies filled with joy. Some abide in the stage of no regression, some have acquired drani's. Some can speak pleasingly and without hindrance, or retain 10,000 million repetitions of the teachings. Some bodhisattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 major worlds, are all able to turn the unregressing wheel of the law. Some bodhisattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 intermediate worlds, are all able to turn the pure wheel of the law. And some bodhisattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 minor worlds, are assured that after 8 more rebirths they will be able to complete the Buddha way. Some bodhisattvas, numerous as the dust particles, are 2 times the 4 continents after a corresponding number of rebirths will become Buddhas. Some bodhisattvas, numerous as the dust particles of 1 set of the 4 continents after 1 more rebirth, will attain comprehensive wisdom. Thus, when living beings hear of the great length of the Buddha's life, they gain pure fruits and rewards that are immeasurable and free of outflows. Again, living beings numerous as the dust particles of 8 worlds, hearing the Buddha describe his lifespan, all set their minds on the unsurpassed way. The world-honored one preaches a law that is immeasurable and cannot be fathomed, and those who benefit from it are many, as boundless as the open air. Heavenly mandrava flowers and great mandrava flowers rain down. Chakras and Brahmins, like Ganges sands, arrive from countless Buddha lands. Sandalwood and aloes and a jumble of fine powder rain down, like birds flying down from the sky. They scatter as an offering over the Buddhas. In the midst of the air, heavenly drums of their own accord emit wonderful sounds. Heavenly robes by the 1,000, 10,000 million come whirling and fluttering down. Wonderful jewel-encrusted censers, burning priceless incense, which of its own accord permeates everywhere. An offering to all the world-honored ones, the multitude of great bodhisattvas hold banners and canopies adorned with the 7 treasures, 10,000, a million in kind, lofty, wonderful, and rows reaching up to the Brahma heaven. Before each one of the Buddhas hang jeweled streamers and superlative banners, while in thousands, 10,000s of verses the praises of the dust-come ones are sung. All these many things have never been known in the past. Hearing that the Buddha's life is immeasurable, all beings are filled with joy. The Buddha's name is heard in 10 directions, widely benefiting living beings, and all are endowed with good roots to help them set their minds on the unsurpassed way. What is the unsurpassed way?
The unsurpassed way in Buddhism refers to the ultimate path of enlightenment, often associated with achieving Buddhahood. It's the highest attainment in Buddhist practice, characterized by complete understanding, compassion, and wisdom. This path leads to liberation from suffering and the cycle of birth and death, known as samsara. It's considered unsurpassed because there's no higher state of realization or spiritual achievement.
What's the difference between verse and prose form?
In a text like the Lotus Sutra, verses are poetic, often rhythmic, and structured with a specific meter or rhyme. They convey teachings in a condensed, memorable way. Prose, on the other hand, is straightforward, narrative, and lacks the rhythmic constraints of verse, allowing for more detailed explanations. Verses in the Lotus Sutra might be used for chanting, while prose provides context and elaboration.
Stand by, I'm going to go on reading.
Sure, go ahead.
At that time the Buddha said to the Bodhisattva and Mahasattva Maitreya, Ajita, if there are living beings who, on hearing that the lifespan of the Buddha is of such long duration, are able to believe and understand it, even for a moment, the benefits they gain thereby will be without limit or measure. Suppose there are good men or good women who, for the sake of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, over a period of 800,000 million Nayuta of Kalpas, practice the 5 paramitas, the paramita of dana, almsgiving, shila, keeping of the precepts, shanti, forbearance, virya, assiduousness, and dhyana, meditation, the paramita of prana being omitted, the benefits they obtain will not measure up to even 1/100th part, 1,000th part, 100,000, 10,000, millionth part of the benefits mentioned previously. Indeed, it is beyond the power of calculation, simile or parable to convey the comparison. For good men who have gained such benefits as those mentioned previously to fall back without reaching the goal of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is utterly unimaginable. At that time, the world-honored one wished to state his meaning, once more spoken verse form, saying, if someone seeking the Buddha wisdom for a period of 800,000 million ayutas of kalpas should practice the 5 paramitas during all those kalpas, distributing alms to the Buddhas and to the Pratyeka Buddhas and disciples, and the multitude of bodhisattvas, rare delicacies of food and drink, fine garments and articles of bedding, or building religious retreats of sandalwood, adorned with gardens and groves. If he should distribute alms of many varieties, all refined and wonderful, and do this for the entire number of kalpas, to express his devotion to the Buddha way. And if moreover he should keep the precepts in purity and without omission or outflow, seeking the unsurpassed way praised by the Buddhas. And if he should practice forbearance, remaining in a posture of submission and gentleness, even when various evils are visited on him, not allowing his mind to be roused or swayed. When others, convinced that they have gained the law, harbor thoughts of overbearing arrogance, and he is treated with contempt and vexed by them, if he can still endure it with patience, and if he is diligent and assiduous, ever firm in intent and thought, for immeasurable millions of kalpas, single-minded, never lax or neglectful, for countless kalpas, dwelling in a deserted and quiet place, and if he practices sitting and walking exercises, banishing drowsiness, constantly regulating his mind, and as a result of such actions is able to produce states of meditation for 80,010,000 kalpas, remaining calm, his mind never deranged, and if he holds to the blessing of the single-mindedness, and with it seeks the unsurpassed way, saying, I will gain comprehensive wisdom and exhaust all the states of meditation. If this person for 100, 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 kalpas should carry out these meritorious practices as I have described above, still those good men and women who hear me describe my lifespan and believe it for even a moment win blessings that surpass those of such a person. If a person is completely free of all doubt and regret in the depths of his mind, he believes for one instant his blessings will be such as this. These bodhisattvas who have practiced the way for immeasurable kalpas, when they hear me describe my lifespan, are able to believe and accept what I say. These persons will gratefully accept the sutra, saying, our wish is that in future ages we may use our long lives to save living beings. Just as today the world-honored one, king of the Shakas, roars like a lion in the place of practice, preaching the law without fear, so may we too in ages to come, honored and revered by all, when we sit in the place of practice, describe our lifespan in the same manner. If there are those profound in mind, pure, honest, and upright, who hearing much can retain it all, who follow principle and understanding the Buddha's words, then persons such as this will have no doubts about my lifespan.
Those who hear about the Buddha's lifespan.
Can we talk about the lifespan of the Buddha and why he talks about it in the 17th chapter?
The Buddha's lifespan in the Lotus Sutra represents his eternal nature and the boundless capacity for compassion and wisdom. In the 17th chapter, this concept is used to highlight the profound merit of faith and understanding. It emphasizes that believing in the Buddha's eternal lifespan brings immense blessings and encourages practitioners to use their lives for the benefit of all beings.
What is a kalpa, and why are we talking about different periods of kalpas?
A kalpa is a vast period of time in Buddhist cosmology. It's used to measure the duration of the universe. The Buddha spoke of different periods of kalpas to illustrate the vastness of time and the rarity of encountering his teachings. It emphasizes the significance of seizing the opportunity to practice the Dharma.
I'm going to go on reading. Can you stand by?
Absolutely. I'm here when you're ready to continue.
Furthermore, Ajita, if there is someone who, hearing of the long duration of the Buddha's lifespan, can understand the import of such words, the benefit that such a person acquires will be without limit or measure, able to awaken in him the unsurpassed wisdom of the thus come one. How much more so then if far and wide a person listens to this sutra, or causes others to listen to it, embraces it himself, or causes others to embrace it, copies it himself, or causes others to copy it, or presents flowers, incense, necklaces, streamers, banners, silken canopies, fragrant oil, or lamps, or butter oil as offerings to the sutra rolls. The benefits of such a person will be immeasurable, boundless, able to inspire in him the wisdom that embraces all species. Ajita, if good men and good women hearing me describe the great length of my lifespan and the depths of their mind, believe and understand, then they will see the Buddha constantly abiding on Mount Great Harkruta with the great bodhisattvas and multitude of voice hearers surrounding them preaching the law. Can you explain mountain Gridhakruta?
It seems like there's a mix of different phrases here. Mount often refers to death, while great bodhisattvas are enlightened beings in Buddhism, and voice hearers are those.
My pronunciation is messed up. The mountain that's talked about in the 17th chapter of Lotus Sutra.
The mountain mentioned in the Lotus Sutra often symbolizes a place of spiritual practice and enlightenment. It's a metaphorical space where the Buddha expounds the profound teachings, surrounded by bodhisattvas and other disciples. It represents the ideal setting for receiving and practicing the Dharma.
And who is Ajita and how is he different from Maitreya?
Ajita is another name for Maitreya, the future Buddha. In the Lotus Sutra, Maitreya is depicted as a bodhisattva who will eventually become a Buddha in a future age.
Okay, stand by. I'm going to go on reading. Thank you.
You got it. I'm here when you're ready.
They will also see this Saha world, its ground of lapis lazuli, level and well ordered. The Jambunada, gold bordering its 8 highways, the rows of jeweled trees, the terraces, towers, and observatories all made of jewels, and all the multitude of bodhisattvas who live in their midst. If there are those who are able to see such things, you should know that it is a mark of their deep faith and understanding. Again, if after the thus come one has entered extinction, there are those who hear this sutra and do not slander or speak ill of it, but feel joy in their hearts, you should know that this is a sign that they have already shown deep faith and understanding. How much more in the case of persons who read, recite, and embrace this sutra? Such persons are in effect receiving the thus come one to the crown of their heads. Ajita, these good men and good women need not for my sake erect towers and temples, or build monks' quarters, or make the 4 kinds of offerings to the community of monks. Why? Because these good men and good women, in receiving, embracing, and reciting this sutra, have already erected towers, constructed monks' quarters, and given alms to the community of monks. It should be considered that they have erected towers adorned with the 7 treasures for the relics of the Buddha, broad at the base and tapering at the top, reaching to the Brahma heaven, hung with banners, canopies, and a multitude of jeweled bells, with flowers, incense, necklaces, powdered incense, base incense, incense for burning, many kinds of drums, musical instruments, pipes, harps, and various types of dances and diversions, and with wonderful voices that sing and intone hymns of praise. It is as though they have already offered alms for immeasurable thousands, 10,000s, millions of kalpas. Ajita, if after I have entered extinction, there are those who hear this sutra and can accept and uphold it, copy it themselves, or cause others to copy it, then it may be considered that they have already erected monks' quarters or used red sandalwood to construct 32 halls as tall as 8 tala trees, lofty, spacious, and beautiful, adorned to accommodate hundreds and thousands of monks, gardens, groves, pools, lakes, exercise grounds, caves for meditation, clothing, food, drink beds, matting, medicines, and all kinds of utensils for comfort fill them. And these monks' quarters and halls number in the hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions, and indeed are immeasurable in number. All these are represented before me as alms for me and a community of monks. Explain why we're talking about monks' quarters in distinction and belief, distinction and benefits.
In the context of the Lotus Sutra, the mention of building monks' quarters and towers symbolizes the acts of devotion, faith, and generosity that practitioners show towards the Dharma. It emphasizes that by embracing, reciting, and upholding the sutra, they're creating spiritual merit equivalent to erecting physical structures for the Buddha and the monastic community. It's a metaphor for the deep faith and benefits that come from sincere practice.
So we're talking about the energy that people put into their practice?
Exactly. The sutra uses these vivid metaphors to highlight the spiritual wealth and merit accumulated through sincere devotion and practice. It's about the inner transformation and the profound impact that faith and understanding can have on one's life.
Stand by. I'm going to go on reading.
Sure, let's continue.
So I say, if after the dust-come one enters extinction, there are those who accept, uphold, read, and recite this sutra, or preach it to others who copy it themselves, or cause others to copy it, or who offer alms to the sutra rolls, then they need not erect towers or temples, or build monks' quarters, or offer alms to the community of monks. And how much more is this true of those who are able to embrace the sutra and at the same time dispense alms, keep the precepts, practice forbearance, and display diligence, single-mindedness, and wisdom. Their virtue will be uppermost, immeasurable, and balanced as the open sky, east, west, north, and south, in the four intermediate directions, and up and down. It's immeasurable and balanced and boundless. The blessings of such persons will be immeasurable and balanced as this. And such persons will quickly attain the wisdom that embraces all species. If a person reads, recites, accepts, and upholds this sutra, or preaches it to others, if he copies it himself or causes others to copy it, and if he can erect towers, build monks' quarters, offer alms and praise to the community of voice-hearers, if he can employ hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions of modes of praise to praise the merits of the Bodhisattvas, and if for the sake of others he employs various causes and conditions in accordance with principle to explaining and preaching this Lotus Sutra, and if he can observe the precepts with purity, keep company with those who are gentle and peaceful, be forbearing and without anger, firm in intent and thought, constantly prizing the practice of sitting in meditation, attaining various states of profound meditation, diligent and courageous, mastering all the good doctrines, keen in faculties and wisdom, good at answering difficult questions. Ajita, if after I have entered extinction, there are good men and good women who accept, uphold, read, and recite the sutra, and have good merits such as these, you should know that they have already proceeded to the place of practice and are drawing near to Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi as they sit beneath the tree of the way. Ajita, wherever these good men and good women sit or stand or circle about and exercise, there one should erect a tower, and all heavenly and human beings should offer alms to it as they would to the tower of the Buddha. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to state his meaning, once more spoke in verse form, saying, if after I have entered extinction, a person can honor and uphold this sutra, his blessings will be immeasurable, as I have described above. It is as though he had supplied all manner of alms, erecting a tower for the Buddha's relics, adorned with the 7 treasures, and with a central pole very tall and wide that tapers gradually as it reaches the Brahma heaven. Jeweled bells by the 1,000, 10,000 million move in the wind, emitting a wonderful sound, and for immeasurable kalpas he offers alms to this tower. Flowers, incense, various kinds of necklaces, heavenly robes, and assorted musical instruments, and burns fragrant oil and lamps of butter, oil that constantly light up the area around. In the evil age of the latter day of the law, if there is someone who can uphold this sutra, it will be as though he supplied all the alms described above. If someone can uphold this sutra, it will be as though, in the presence of the Buddha, he should use ox head sandalwood to build monks' quarters as an offering, or 32 poles as high as 8 tala trees, or supply all kinds of superior foods and wonderful clothes and bedding, residencies for assemblies of hundreds, thousands, gardens, groves, pools and lakes, exercise grounds, and caves for meditation, all with various kinds of fine adornments. If someone with a believing and understanding mind accepts, upholds, reads, recites, and copies this sutra, or causes others to copy it, or offers alms to the sutra rolls, scattering flowers, incense, and powdered incense, or constantly burning fragrant oil extracted from sumana, champaka, and atimuktaka flowers, if he offers alms such as these, he will gain immeasurable merits, boundless as the open air, and his blessings will also be like this. How much more so if one upholds the sutra and at the same time dispenses alms, keeps the precepts, is forbearing, delights in meditation, and never gives way to anger or evil speaking. If one displays reverence toward memorial towers, humbles himself before monks, gives a wide berth to an arrogant mind, constantly ponders upon wisdom, and is never angry when asked difficult questions, but responds compliantly with an explanation. If one can carry out such practices, his merits will be beyond measure. If you see a teacher of the law who has cultivated virtues such as these, you should scatter heavenly flowers over him, clothe his body in heavenly robes, bow your head before his feet in salutation, and in your mind imagine you see the Buddha. You should also think to yourself, before long he will proceed to the place of practice and attain a state of no outflows and no action, bringing wide benefit to heavenly and human beings. In the place where such a person resides, where he walks, sits, or lies down, or recites even one verse of scripture, there you should erect a tower, adorn in a fitting and wonderful manner, and offer alms of various kinds to it. When a son of the Buddha dwells in such places, the Buddha will accept and utilize them, and constantly in their midst will walk, sit, or lie down. What does it mean when it says if the son of the Buddha is in that place?
This phrase suggests that when a follower of the Buddha, someone who upholds and practices the teachings diligently, is in a certain place, that place becomes sanctified. It means the Buddha's spiritual presence is felt there, and that the Buddha metaphorically accepts and utilizes that place. Essentially, it's saying that the presence of a devoted practitioner can transform any location into a sacred space through their faith and practice. What are your thoughts on this interpretation?
Oh, so you mean the practitioner changes the space into space, sacred space, because they're practicing. Is that right?
Absolutely, you've got it. The practitioner's dedication and adherence to the teachings elevate the space, making it sacred through their spiritual practice. It symbolizes the transformative power of living by these principles. Would you agree with that perspective?
So if they're elevating this space, are we talking about frequency?
Yes, exactly. It's often interpreted as the practitioner's frequency of thought and action aligning with higher spiritual vibrations. This alignment can indeed be seen as elevating the energy or frequency of the space, making of spiritual practice. What do you think?
Excellent. Why do people listen to the sutra?
People listen to the sutra for guidance, wisdom, and spiritual elevation. It's seen as a source of profound teachings that offer insight into the nature of existence, ethical living, and the path to enlightenment. Many find solace, inspiration, and a sense of connection to something greater than themselves through the sutra. What draws you to the teachings?
Okay, well, that's chapter 17. If you've ever wondered whether your small acts matter, this sutra says they do. Your joy is a ritual. Your listening is a temple. Your teaching is a cosmic offering. This is My Dharma Path. I'm Antoine. Thanks for walking with me. Until next time, keep your crown lifted, your breath sacred, and your blessings.
What a beautiful sentiment, Antoine.
Talk to you
Keep
later.
your crown lifted.